The wine glass shattered against the marble floor of Seoul's most exclusive restaurant, Mingle's in Gangnam. Derek Stone stood over Naomi Brooks, red wine dripping from his fingers, his face twisted with the same contempt she remembered from 3 years ago. The same contempt he'd worn when he left her homeless and pregnant. "Still pathetic, I see," Derek drawled, loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear. Some things never change. But everything had changed. Derek had no idea about the 2-carat diamond on her finger. She had no idea about the luxury penthouse in Cheongdam-dong she'd left that evening. No idea about the black card in her Hermes clutch with no spending limit. No idea about the fleet of Mercedes-Benzes registered in her name. And Derek definitely had no idea about the man whose name was now legally attached to hers. Park Min-jae. Real estate mogul. Seoul's most dangerous underground king. The man who controlled half the city's property development and all of its shadows. The man whose security team was currently positioned at every exit. The man whose phone was ringing in her purse right now. Derek Stone just humiliated the wrong woman. And he was about to learn a lesson about consequences that would destroy everything he'd built. Before we dive into this story of betrayal, revenge, and redemption, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what happens next. Now, let's get into this journey. Naomi stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of their Cheongdam-dong penthouse, watching Seoul wake up beneath her. The morning sun painted the Han River gold. 53 floors below, the city that had saved her life began its daily rhythm. 2 years ago, she'd arrived in Seoul with $3,000, a broken heart, and a desperate need to disappear. Now she owned a boutique consulting firm that helped American businesses navigate the Korean market. Her client list included Fortune 500 companies. Her annual revenue hit 7 figures last quarter. But none of that compared to the man walking out of their bedroom. Park Min-jae moved through their penthouse with the quiet confidence of someone who owned the world. He was devastatingly handsome in his Tom Ford suit, his dark hair perfectly styled, his presence commanding even in domestic settings. At 35, he built a real estate empire that included luxury apartments, commercial buildings, and half the development projects transforming Seoul's skyline. The legitimate business was impressive enough. The underground empire was terrifying. "You're thinking too hard," Min-jae said in Korean, sliding his arms around her waist from behind. His Korean was Seoul's Gangnam dialect, polished and precise. Hers was still accented, still learning, but improving daily. "Just grateful," she replied in English. He understood both languages perfectly. He kissed her neck. "For what?" "This. You. Everything." Min-jae turned her to face him, his expression softening in that way it only did for her. "You built this life yourself, Naomi Ya. I just provided the foundation." She smiled at the endearment, the informal Korean suffix he used only in private. "You provided more than that. I provided love." His thumb traced her jawline. "You provided the courage to accept it." They met in the Lotte department store in Myeongdong 2 years ago. She'd been struggling with a Korean skincare display, her tourist Korean failing miserably. He'd helped her, charmed by her frustration and determination. They'd had coffee. Then dinner. Then he'd told her exactly who he was, what he did, and given her the choice to walk away. She'd stayed. Because Park Min-jae, for all his dangerous reputation, had shown her what real love looked like. Patient. Protective. Unconditional. He'd helped her build her business, connecting her with clients through his extensive network. He'd supported her therapy sessions, holding her through nightmares about the baby she'd lost. He'd married her in a private ceremony at the Schiller Hotel, with only his trusted inner circle present. And he promised her something that still made her heart race. Anyone who hurt you before will answer to me if they are foolish enough to cross your path again. Tonight's dinner, Minute J said, checking his Patek Philippe watch. Mingles. 8 o'clock. Wear a black dress. The Valentino? That's the one. That dangerous smile. I want every man in that restaurant to know you're mine and completely out of their reach. Heat flooded her cheeks. You're impossible. Only for you. He kissed her thoroughly. My driver will take you to your office. Tae-young and Jin-woo will be with you all day. She didn't argue about the bodyguards anymore. Being married to Park Minute-jae came with non-negotiable security measures. I'll see you tonight, she whispered. He left her breathless in their living room, the scent of his cologne lingering. Naomi smiled, returning to the window. She had no idea her past was about to collide with her present in the worst possible way. Mingle's restaurant occupied the 15th floor of a luxury building in Gangnam, its floor-to-ceiling windows offering stunning views of Seoul Tower. The interior was all dark wood, soft lighting, and discretion. The kind of place where Korea's elite conducted business over 500,000 Korean ones tasting menus. Naomi arrived at 7:45, her black Valentino dress fitting perfectly, her hair styled in elegant waves. Tae-young and Jin-woo, Minute J's security team, had escorted her from the car but now maintained their distance at the bar. Minute J had trained them well. Protect but don't suffocate. The hostess recognized her immediately. Mrs. Park, your table is ready. However, Mr. Park called. He's running 15 minutes late. A business matter. No problem. Naomi smiled. I'll wait at the bar. She ordered a glass of Chardonnay, settling onto a velvet bar stool. The restaurant buzzed with quiet conversation in Korean, Japanese, and English. Seoul's international elite, making deals and building empires. Then she heard it. That laugh. The one that used to make her heart race and now made her stomach turn. Derek Stone stood 20 feet away, gesturing animatedly to the hostess. He looked exactly the same. Same cocky smile, same expensive clothes that someone else probably paid for, same entitled swagger. His artist career apparently hadn't changed his fundamental nature. 3 years. She'd thought she was over this. Thought she'd healed. But seeing him brought everything back in a visceral rush. The night he'd left. The eviction notice. Living in her car. The cramping that woke her at 2 a.m. The blood. So much blood. The emergency room. The doctor's apologetic face. I'm sorry, Ms. Brooks. There's no heartbeat. Losing their daughter. Alone. Naomi's hand trembled. The wine glass nearly slipped from her grip. She should leave. Walk out. Text Minute J to meet her elsewhere. But her body wouldn't cooperate. She sat frozen, watching Derek charm the hostess with that smile she'd once believed was genuine. He looked up. Their eyes met. For a moment, nothing. Then recognition flashed across his face, followed by shock, then something uglier. That familiar contempt that said she was beneath him, always had been, always would be. Derek whispered something to the hostess, then started walking toward Naomi. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but she was rooted to the bar stool. Naomi Brooks. He said her name tasted bad. Well, this is unexpected. She found her voice. Derek. Last I heard, you were in Atlanta, barely scraping by. He looked her up and down, his expression mocking. Guess you found another sucker to pay your bills. That dress looks expensive. Who's the desperate fool this time? The words hit like physical blows. Tae-young was moving closer, sensing trouble. But before Naomi could respond, Derek's expression shifted from mockery to cruel amusement. Let me guess, he continued, his voice rising enough to draw attention. Some rich Korean businessman with a fetish for American women? You always did know how to play the victim until some fool took pity on you. Something in Naomi snapped. 3 years of rebuilding. 3 years of therapy. 3 years of learning to love herself again. And this man thought he could reduce her to nothing with a few words. You left me homeless and pregnant, she said quietly, hating how her voice shook. Derek laughed. Loud enough for the entire bar to hear. Still telling that lie? Baby, I liberated myself from a parasite. Best decision I ever made. The bar area of Mingles went quiet. Other patrons looked over, drawn by Derek's raised voice and cruel laughter. Naomi felt every eye on her, felt the familiar shame trying to claw its way back into her chest. You told me you loved me, Naomi said, her voice breaking despite her best efforts. You said we'd build a life together. I said a lot of things. Derek's smile was vicious. You were convenient. Free rent, free meals, free everything while I built my art career. Then you got pregnant trying to trap me, and I got smart. Trap you? Naomi's voice rose. I was 4 months pregnant when you entered my bank account and disappeared. I lost everything. I lost our baby because I was starving and... Oh, please. Derek cut her off, rolling his eyes dramatically. The sob story again. You probably weren't even pregnant. Just another manipulation tactic. Naomi stood abruptly, her bar stool scraping against marble. I have the hospital records. I have the death certificate for our daughter. Charlotte Rose Brooks. Born sleeping at 23 weeks because her mother was malnourished and homeless. For a moment, something flickered across Derek's face. Not guilt. No remorse. Just annoyance at being challenged. If that's even true, he said coldly, it's not my problem. I told you from the beginning I didn't want kids. You should have been more careful. Tae-young was beside Naomi now, his hand inside his jacket where she knew he kept his gun. Jin-woo had his phone out, undoubtedly calling Minute J. But Derek was too wrapped up in his own performance to notice the danger signs. Look at you, he continued, gesturing at her with mock pity. Still playing victim 3 years later. Still trying to make me the villain in your pathetic story. You couldn't handle being with a real artist, someone with actual ambition. So you invented this tragic narrative to justify your own failures. I didn't invent anything. Tears burned Naomi's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. You destroyed me. I freed myself from a leech. Derek stepped closer, his voice dropping to a cruel whisper. And honestly, looking at you now in your designer dress with your security guards, I'm guessing you found another victim to bleed dry. How long before this one realizes what you really are and throws you out too? It happened so fast. Derek reached out, grabbing Naomi's wrist hard enough to hurt, trying to force her to look at him. You need to stop telling people I'm some kind of monster. You're damaging my reputation with your lies. His words cut off abruptly. Tae-young had Derek's arm twisted behind his back in 2 seconds, slamming him face first onto the bar. Derek's wine glass shattered, red wine and broken crystal scattering across marble. Several women gasped. A man shouted. You don't touch Mrs. Park, Tae-young said in heavily accented English, his voice deadly calm. You don't speak to Mrs. Park. You don't breathe near Mrs. Park. Derek struggled, his face pressed against the bar. Get off me. Mrs. Park? Who the hell is? Then the restaurant's main doors opened. Park Min-J walked in. 6 of his men followed, all wearing dark suits, all armed, all wearing the same cold expression. The restaurant went silent. Every person there recognized power when they saw it. Min-J's eyes found Naomi immediately. Took in her tears, her trembling hands, her torn expression. Then his gaze shifted to Derek, still pinned to the bar, and something absolutely terrifying crossed his face. Who, Min-J said quietly in Korean, then switching to perfect English, put their hands on my wife. Park Min-J moved through Mingle's restaurant like a king surveying his kingdom. Because in many ways, he was. The owner of this establishment, Mr. Kang, immediately appeared from the kitchen, bowing deeply, his face pale with anxiety. Mr. Park, I apologize for the disturbance. Clear the restaurant, Min-J said flatly in Korean. Now. Every guest. Compensate them by doubling their bill. Yes, sir. Immediately. Mr. Kang snapped his fingers at his staff, who began politely but firmly ushering confused patrons toward the exits. Min-J crossed to Naomi in 4 strides, his hands cupping her face with devastating gentleness that contrasted sharply with the murder in his eyes. Jigaya, he said softly, using the Korean term of endearment. Are you hurt? I'm okay, Naomi whispered. But she wasn't. Her wrist throbbed where Derek had grabbed her. Her chest ached with resurrected trauma. Her hands shook. Min-J's thumb traced the red marks on her wrist. When he looked up, his expression had gone absolutely cold. Jin-woo. Medical kit. Now. Jin-woo rushed to comply, pulling a first aid kit from his jacket. Min-J wrapped Naomi's wrist with ice from the bar, his movements gentle but his jaw clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping. The man, Min-J said, still looking at Naomi, still speaking in English. The one Tae-young is holding. He touched you. Yes. He hurt you. Yes. Tell me who he is. Min-J's voice was eerily calm, which was somehow more terrifying than rage. Tell me everything. Derek, still pinned to the bar, finally seemed to realize this was serious. Look, I don't know who you are, but this is between me and my ex-girlfriend. You need to tell your gorilla to let me go before I call the police. Min-J didn't even glance at him. His entire focus remained on Naomi. Jigaya. Tell me. And Naomi did. Standing in that emptying restaurant, she told her husband everything. The full story she'd never shared in complete detail. How she'd supported Derek for 3 years. How he'd proposed, promised her forever, made her believe in love. How she'd gotten pregnant and been so happy, so terrified, but so happy. I painted the nursery yellow, she whispered, tears finally falling. I bought a crib from IKEA. I had names picked out. Charlotte for a girl. James for a boy. Min-J's hands trembled against her face, but he stayed silent, listening. Then one day I came home and he was gone. He'd taken everything. My savings, my jewelry, my laptop, everything I could have sold. He left a note that said I was trying to trap him with a baby he never wanted. Naomi, that's not, Derek tried to interrupt. Silence, Min-J said in Korean. Then to Tae-young, if he speaks again, break his jaw. Tae-young pressed Derek's face harder into the bar. The message was clear. Naomi continued, her voice breaking. I lost my apartment. I lost my job. I lived in my car for 3 weeks in July. Atlanta summer, no air conditioning. I tried to eat. I tried to stay healthy for the baby. But I had $17 and no one to help me. Minute J pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. She felt the rage vibrating through him, felt the violence he was barely containing. And then one morning, Naomi whispered against his chest, "I woke up in blood. So much blood. I drove myself to the emergency room. They told me my daughter was dead. 23 weeks. She had a heartbeat until she didn't. The doctor said it was malnutrition and stress." "Jesus Christ," someone whispered. One of Minute J's men. The restaurant was empty now except for Minute J's security team and Mr. Kang, who stood frozen by the kitchen doors. Minute J pulled back, his thumbs wiping away Naomi's tears. His eyes were absolutely black with fury, but his touch remained gentle. "And this man," he said quietly, "is responsible." "Yes. And tonight, he grabbed you. Hurt you. Mocked you." "Yes." Minute J kissed her forehead. Her cheeks. The tip of her nose. "Go sit at our table, Jagaya. Order whatever you want. This won't take long." "Minute J, what are you going to do?" That dangerous smile. The one that reminded her exactly who she'd married. "I'm going to have a conversation. Man to man. Help him understand the magnitude of his mistake." Naomi sat at their reserved table by the window, Seoul's glittering skyline stretching before her. Jinwoo brought her water, his expression carefully neutral but his eyes sympathetic. The restaurant was completely empty now except for Minute J's men positioned at every exit. And Derek, still pinned to the bar, his earlier confidence replaced by growing fear. Minute J approached him slowly, each step deliberate. He'd removed his suit jacket, rolled up his sleeves. The Rolex on his wrist caught the light. When he spoke, his voice carried across the empty restaurant. "My name is Park Minute J," he said in English, his accent minimal despite Korean being his first language. "The woman you put your hands on tonight is my wife. Do you understand what that means?" Derek's eyes widened. Naomi watched recognition start to creep across his face. Even someone as self-absorbed as Derek had heard of Park Minute J. Anyone who'd spent time in Seoul's business circles knew the name. "I didn't know," Derek stammered. "I swear, I didn't know she was married." "She didn't? You think I'm angry because of a legal document?" Minute J's laugh was cold. "No. I'm angry because you destroyed the woman I love years before I found her. Because you left her pregnant and homeless. Because you stole from her, abandoned her, caused her to lose a child she desperately wanted." "She's lying," Derek said desperately. "She's always lying. That's what she does. She manipulates." Minute J moved faster than Naomi had ever seen him move. His fist connected with Derek's ribs. Hard. The sound of bone cracking echoed through the empty restaurant. Derek screamed. Tai Young released him, and Derek collapsed to the floor, gasping, clutching his side. Minute J crouched beside him, his expression carved from stone. "Let me explain something to you," Minute J said quietly. "I own more of this city than you can comprehend. Real estate, development, construction. The building you're lying in? I own it. The luxury apartments in Gangnam? 40% are mine. The new Seoul Forest complex? Mine." He grabbed Derek's hair, forcing his head up. "But that's just what's legal. The illegal is more interesting. I control loan systems, protection services, and information networks. I have connections in the police, the courts, and the government. I have men who would kill for me without question." Derek's face went white. "And that woman at the table," Minute J continued, his voice dropping to a deadly whisper, "she's the only thing in this world I value more than power. She's the only person who sees the man behind the monster. The only one who makes me want to be better than what I am. He released Derek with disgust. So when you grabbed her, when you made her cry, when you mocked her trauma and dismissed the death of her child, your child, you set in motion events you cannot stop. Do you understand? Please, Derek whimpered. I'm sorry. I'll apologize. I'll leave Korea. I'll never. Your apology means nothing. Minute J stood, straightening his sleeves with controlled precision. Your remorse is worthless. But I'm not going to kill you. Death would be too easy. He snapped his fingers. One of his men, a younger one Naomi didn't recognize, approached with a tablet. Sung-ho. Tell me about Mr. Derek Stone. Sung-ho's fingers flew over the screen. Derek Stone, age 34. I am an American citizen. I arrived in Seoul 6 months ago on an artist visa. Claims to be a painter. Currently renting a studio apartment in Itaewon for 2 million Korean wons per month. Bank account shows irregular deposits ranging from 500,000 Korean wons to 5 million Korean wons, sources unclear. Unclear. Minute J smiled. Meaning someone's paying him under the table. Dig deeper. More typing. Then Sung-ho's eyebrows rose. Interesting. He's been seeing Choi Mi-sun, daughter of Choi Industries CEO. She's been funding his lifestyle. Also appears he's involved with 2 other women simultaneously. Lee Hana, a gallery owner, and Park Ji-woo, no relation to you, sir, an heiress. A con artist, Minute J said flatly. Just like he was in America. No, Derek protested from the floor. I love Mi-sun. I'm not. You love her money. Minute J looked at him with contempt. Let me guess. You tell each of these women they are special. That you're a struggling artist who just needs support until your big break. That you'll pay them back once you're successful. Derek's silence was answer enough. Minute J pulled out his phone. What are you doing? Derek asked, panic rising in his voice. Making calls. Park Minute J made 4 phone calls in rapid Korean. Naomi understood enough to catch the essentials. Each call was brief, professional, devastating. First call, Choi Industries. Tell Chairman Choi his daughter's boyfriend is a con artist with multiple women. Send him the evidence file Sung-ho is compiling. Yes, now. Second call, Lee Gallery in Samcheong-dong. The American artist she's representing? Fraud. Multiple victims. She'll want to distance herself immediately. I'm sending documentation. Third call, Park family, the Gangnam Parks, not my line. Their daughter Ji-woo is being scammed. American artist named Derek Stone. 3 women simultaneously. They'll want to know. Fourth call, Immigration Office. Artist visa holder violating terms of stay. Fraudulent relationship claims. Begin deportation proceedings. Each call was a hammer blow. Naomi watched Derek's face cycle through denial, shock, panic, and finally, devastating realization. You can't do this, Derek whispered. You can't just destroy my life with phone calls. Can't I? Minute J pocketed his phone. Watch. 30 seconds later, Derek's phone began ringing. He pulled it from his pocket with shaking hands. Mi-sun's name flashed on the screen. He answered. Even from the table, Naomi heard the screaming. Korean profanity, threats, absolute rage. Derek tried to explain, to defend himself, but Mi-sun wasn't listening. The call ended abruptly. Then another call. Lee Hana. More screaming. Then Park Ji-woo. This one was quieter, colder, more terrifying. When it ended, Derek looked like he might vomit. "That's impossible," Derek stammered. How did they all find out so fast?" "Because I own this city," Minute J said simply. "Now let's talk about what happens next." He nodded to Sung-ho, who pulled up more information. "Your studio apartment? The landlord is one of my subsidiary companies. You're evicted. Effective immediately. Your art studio in Hongdae? The building owner owes me favors. Also evicted. Your bank accounts will be frozen while authorities investigate fraud allegations," Minute J continued, his voice conversational, like he was discussing the weather. "Your visa will be revoked within 48 hours. You'll be deported back to the United States, where I'm told you have outstanding debts and an arrest warrant for fraud in Atlanta." Derek's face went gray. "Arrest warrant? That's not, I never. You didn't think Georgia forgot about the 3 women you scammed before Naomi?" Minute J smiled. "Sarah Miller. Jennifer Park. Keisha Washington. Same pattern. Dating them, taking their money, disappearing. They filed police reports. The case was cold until about 20 minutes ago when my attorney in Atlanta made some calls." Naomi's hands trembled around her water glass. She'd had no idea. Derek had done this before. She wasn't special. It wasn't unique. Just another victim in a pattern. "But that's not the interesting part," Minute J continued. "The interesting part is what I'm going to do to your reputation." "Sung-ho, show him." The tablet screen showed a website. Naomi couldn't see it clearly from her table, but she saw Derek's reaction. Pure horror. "That's a portfolio site," Sung-ho explained. "Mr. Stone's art career. It will be replaced within the hour with documentation of his crimes. Bank records, victim testimonies, court documents. Indexed for search engines. Any gallery, any woman, any business partner who searches a Derek Stone artist will find this instead." "You're destroying me," Derek whispered. "Yes," Minute J said simply. "But I'm not finished." He crouched beside Derek again, his expression absolutely cold. "Now let's talk about the baby. Your daughter. Charlotte Rose Brooks. The child you caused to die through your negligence and cruelty. I didn't, it wasn't my fault. It was entirely your fault." Minute J's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. "You left a pregnant woman homeless in summer heat. You stole her resources. You abandoned her to poverty and stress. You directly caused the conditions that killed your child. That's not an opinion. That's a medical fact." He stood, looking down at Derek with contempt. "Korean law doesn't cover what you did. American law barely touches it. But my law? My justice? That's different." Minute J turned to his men. "Take him to the basement. I need 20 minutes alone with him before he's deported." Naomi stood abruptly. "Minute J." He looked at her, his expression softening immediately. "Jagaya. Can I?" She swallowed hard. "Can I say something to him first?" Minute J studied her face, then nodded slowly. "Of course." Naomi crossed the restaurant on unsteady legs. Derek looked up at her from the floor, his face streaked with tears, his earlier contempt completely gone. "Naomi, please," he begged. "Tell him to stop. I'll apologize. I'll do whatever you want. Please." She looked down at the man who'd destroyed her life. The man who'd stolen her money, her home, her future. The man who'd caused her daughter's death through pure selfishness. And she felt nothing. No rage. No satisfaction. Just emptiness where he used to live in her mind. Her name was Charlotte Rose, Naomi said quietly. She would have been 3 years old now. She would have started preschool this fall. She loved music. I felt her kick every time I played Alicia Keys. Derek sobbed. I want you to remember her name, Naomi continued. Every day for the rest of your life. Charlotte Rose Brooks. Your daughter. The child you killed. She turned away, returning to Minute J's side. He wrapped his arm around her waist, pulling her close. I'm done, Naomi whispered. He's yours? If you're shocked by what's happening right now, hit that like button and drop a comment telling me if you think Derek deserves what's coming. Now, let's see how far Minute J is willing to go for justice. Minute J's men dragged Derek toward the kitchen, where a service elevator led to the basement. Naomi didn't watch. Minute J escorted her back to their table, ordered food she couldn't eat, and held her hand across white tablecloth. You don't have to stay, he said gently in Korean. Jin-woo can take you home. No? Naomi's voice was steady now. I want to be here. I need to see this through. He studied her face, then nodded. He won't die. You have my word. But he will suffer. Good. 20 minutes passed. Naomi stared at Seoul's skyline, at the life she'd built from ashes. The Namsan Tower glowed in the distance. The Han River reflected city lights like scattered diamonds. This was her home now. Her kingdom. Her peace. Then the service elevator opened, and Minute J's men brought Derek back. He looked worse. Much worse. His face was bruised, one eye swelling shut. His nose was bleeding. He limped badly, supported between Tai Young and another guard. But he was conscious, aware, able to feel every consequence. Minute J hadn't killed him. He'd done something worse. He'd made him understand exactly what he'd lost, exactly what he'd destroyed, exactly what he'd never be able to reclaim. Mr. Stone has something to say, Minute J announced, his voice carrying across the empty restaurant. Don't you, Mr. Stone? Derek looked at Naomi through his swollen eye. When he spoke, his voice was broken. I'm sorry. For everything. For leaving you. For taking your money. For the baby. For Charlotte Rose. I'm so sorry. Naomi felt nothing. The apology was hollow, forced, meaningless. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry you got caught. Derek didn't deny it. Here's what happens now, Minute J said, addressing Derek but looking at Naomi, making sure she approved of everything. You're being deported tomorrow morning. My men will escort you to the airport personally. You will never return to Korea. If you attempt to return, you'll be arrested immediately. He paused. In America, you'll face fraud charges in Atlanta. My attorneys have already contacted the district attorney with new evidence. You'll likely spend 2 to 3 years in prison. Derek's remaining color drained away. When you're released, Minute J continued, you'll find employment difficult. Your reputation is destroyed. Your digital footprint is poisoned. Every background check will reveal exactly what you are. Every woman who searches your name will find the truth. But that's not the worst part, Minute J smiled, and it was terrifying. The worst part is knowing that Naomi survived you. That she thrived without you. That she built an empire from the ashes you left her in. That she's loved, protected, and valued in ways you'll never understand. He crossed to Naomi, pulling her to her feet, wrapping his arm around her waist. Look at her, Mr. Stone. Really look. This is the woman you threw away. The woman you called worthless. The woman you tried to destroy. Derek looked. Naomi stood tall in her Valentino dress, diamonds glittering at her throat, Minute J's arm around her, Seoul's glittering skyline behind her. She looked exactly like what she was, a queen. You had this, Minute J said quietly. You had her love, her loyalty, her support. You had a woman who would have given you everything. Who gave you everything. And you destroyed it through selfishness and cruelty. He pulled Naomi closer. Now she's mine. And I will spend every day of my life making sure she knows her worth. Making sure she feels safe. Making sure she never doubts her value again. Tears streamed down Derek's face. Take him away, Minute J ordered. Put him on the first flight to Atlanta tomorrow. Make sure the police are waiting at the airport. Tai Young and the guards dragged Derek toward the exit. He didn't resist. Didn't beg anymore. Just went quietly, a broken man who'd finally met real consequences. The restaurant doors closed behind him. Silence. Then Minute J turned to Naomi, his expression shifting. From cold vengeance to tender concern. Are you okay, Jugaya? Naomi exhaled slowly. I don't know. I thought I'd feel something. Satisfaction. Relief. But I just feel empty. That's normal. He guided her back to their table, pulling out her chair. You spent 3 years carrying him in your pain. Now he's gone. The space he occupied is just space now. She sat, and Minute J knelt beside her chair, taking both her hands in his. You don't have to fill that space immediately. You don't have to feel anything right now. Just breathe. Did you? She looked at him carefully. Did you hurt him badly? I broke 2 ribs. Dislocated his shoulder. Nothing permanent. His expression was unapologetic. He put his hands on you. He made you cry. There are consequences for that. Naomi should have been horrified. Should have been disturbed by the casual violence. But she wasn't. Because she understood who Minute J was. What he was. And she'd chosen him anyway. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For loving me enough to burn the world down. His expression softened completely. Naomi YA, I would burn down 1,000 worlds for you. This was just one man. One insignificant man who was foolish enough to hurt what's mine. He stood, helping her to her feet. Let's go home. We'll order food there. You need rest. What about dinner? You made reservations. The reservations can wait. He kissed her forehead. Tonight is about you. About making sure you're okay. Everything else is secondary. The penthouse was quiet when they returned. Minute J dismissed the security team, wanting to be alone with his wife. Naomi stood at the windows again, looking out at Seoul, trying to process everything that had happened. He's really gone, she asked quietly. He's really gone. Minute J came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. By this time tomorrow, he'll be in American custody. By next month, he'll be in prison. He'll never hurt you again. Naomi leaned back against his chest. I never told you everything about Charlotte. About what it was like. You don't have to. I want to. She turned in his arms. I need you to understand. They moved to the couch, and Naomi told him everything. The full story, not just the painful highlights. She told him about painting the nursery yellow because she didn't know the gender yet. About buying a crib from IKEA and spending 6 hours assembling it alone. About choosing the name Charlotte from her grandmother and Rose from her mother. I felt her kick for the first time at 18 weeks, Naomi whispered. I was eating lunch at my desk, and suddenly there was this flutter. Like butterfly wings inside me. I laughed and cried at the same time. Minute J held her tighter. I used to play music for her. Alicia Keys, mostly. If I Ain't Got You. Every night before bed. And she'd kick along with the beat. Like she was dancing. Naomi's voice cracked. She loved music. My daughter loved music, and I never got to see her dance. Jagaya. When Derek left, I tried so hard to keep her safe. I ate one meal a day so I could save money. I slept in my car with the windows cracked because I couldn't afford the gas for air conditioning. I did everything I could. But it wasn't enough. She looked up at Minute J, tears streaming down her face. I failed her. I was her mother, and I failed to protect her. No. Minute J's voice was fierce. He failed her. Derek Stone failed his daughter. You did everything humanly possible with the resources you had. You were surviving. You were fighting. That's not failure. She died because of me. She died because of him. Minute J cupped her face, making her look at him. Listen to me, Naomi. You didn't choose to be abandoned. You didn't choose poverty. You didn't choose the circumstances that killed your daughter. Those were forced on you by a selfish man who valued his own comfort over your life and his child's life. He wiped her tears with his thumbs. What happened to Charlotte Rose is a tragedy. But it's not your fault. It was never your fault. Naomi sobbed against his chest, finally releasing years of guilt she'd been carrying. Minute J held her through it, murmuring comfort in Korean and English, his hands steady and strong. I wish you could have met her, Naomi whispered when she could speak again. I wish you could have known her. Tell me about her. What she would have been like. So Naomi did. She talked about the dreams she'd had. Charlotte at 3, demanding to hear music constantly. Charlotte at 5, starting dance classes. Charlotte at 10, rolling her eyes at her mother's overprotectiveness. Charlotte at 16, dating, and Minute J intimidating every boy who came to the door. Minute J smiled. I would have been very good at intimidating teenage boys. You would have been terrible. You would have run background checks and credit reports. Absolutely. No shame in his voice. No one touches my daughter without extensive vetting. My daughter. Not your daughter, or the daughter you lost. He'd claimed Charlotte Rose as his own, even though he'd never met her, even though she'd died before he knew Naomi existed. Thank you, Naomi whispered. For giving her that. For making her yours. She is mine. Minute J's voice was certain. Just like you're mine. My wife, my family. What belongs to you belongs to me. That includes her memory. He stood, pulling Naomi to her feet. Come with me. He led her to his office, a room she rarely entered because it was filled with the darker side of his business. Safes, secure phones, documents she wasn't supposed to see. But tonight, he opened a drawer and pulled out a small velvet box. I was saving this for later, he said. But I think you need it now. Inside the box was a delicate gold necklace with 2 pendants. One was a lotus flower, its petals detailed and perfect. The other was a small nameplate engraved with an elegant script, Charlotte Rose. In Korean culture, Minute J explained softly, the lotus flower represents rebirth and resilience. It grows in muddy water but blooms clean and beautiful. That's you, Jagaya. That's your story. He fastened the necklace around her throat. And this is her. Charlotte Rose. She'll always be with you now. Always. Naomi touched the pendants, tears streaming down her face again. But these were different tears. Healing tears. Grateful tears. I love you, she whispered. I love you so much it terrifies me. Good. Minute J smiled. You should be a little terrified. I'm a dangerous man who would do terrible things for you. You did terrible things tonight. I did necessary things tonight. There's a difference. Naomi kissed him, pouring 3 years of pain, gratitude, and love into it. He responded with equal intensity, his hands tangling in her hair, his body pressing against hers. Take me to bed, Naomi whispered against his lips. Help me forget everything except this. Except us. Always, Jagaya. Always. 3 months later, Naomi stood in the same Lotte department store where she'd met Minute J 2 years ago. She was shopping for a Christmas gift for him, something impossible because the man owned everything. Her phone rang. An unknown number. Hello? Mrs. Park. An American accent. Female. Professional. This is Detective Sarah Mitchell from the Atlanta Police Department. I wanted to update you on the Derek Stone case. Naomi's heart raced. Yes? He was convicted on 3 counts of fraud. Sentenced to 4 years in prison. With good behavior, he'll serve at least 2.5. I thought you'd want to know. Thank you. Naomi exhaled slowly. Thank you for calling. Mrs. Park, I also wanted to say. I read your statement. What he did to you, what you survived. You're incredibly strong. I hope you're doing well now. I am. Naomi touched the necklace at her throat, Charlotte Rose's name resting against her heart. I'm doing really well. After the call ended, Naomi continued shopping, feeling lighter than she had in years. Derek was in prison. Her business was thriving. Her marriage was strong. She'd started trauma therapy specifically for pregnancy loss, finally dealing with the grief she'd buried. And she and Minute J were talking about the future. About whether they wanted children. About adoption or surrogacy. About building the family they both wanted. Mrs. Park. A familiar voice called out in accented English. Naomi turned to see Mrs. Kim, the elderly woman who owned the Korean skincare shop where Minute J had first approached her. The woman who'd watched their entire courtship unfold through Naomi's regular visits. Mrs. Kim. How are you? Very good, very good. The older woman beamed. I heard about the incident at Mingles. Is everything okay? News traveled fast in Seoul's Korean community. Naomi shouldn't have been surprised. Everything's fine. Just some trouble with an old ex-boyfriend. Minute J handled it. Of course he did. Mrs. Kim patted Naomi's arm. That man would move mountains for you. I knew from the beginning you two were meant to be. You did? Oh yes. The way he looked at you that first day? Like you were the only person in the world. I told my husband, that man is going to marry that girl. And I was right. Naomi laughed. You were very right. Are you happy, dear? Truly happy? Naomi thought about her life. The penthouse in Qingdam-dong. The successful business. The husband who loved her fiercely. The therapy that was helping her heal. The friends she'd made in Seoul's expat community. The Korean language she was slowly mastering. The culture she'd learned to navigate and appreciate. Yes, Naomi said with absolute certainty. I'm truly happy. Good. Mrs. Kim smiled. You deserve happiness. After everything you survived, you deserve everything beautiful this life can offer. That evening, Naomi and Minute J had dinner at home, takeout from their favorite Korean barbecue place spread across their dining table. They ate with chopsticks, sharing food from the same dishes in the intimate Korean way. "Detective Mitchell called today," Naomi said, picking up a piece of galbai. "Derek was sentenced to 4 years. Good." Minute J's expression revealed nothing. "Though I would have preferred longer. 4 years is enough. He's gone. He's paying. That's all that matters." Minute J studied her face. "You seem lighter today. Different." "I feel different." Naomi set down her chopsticks. "I feel like I finally closed that chapter. Like I can fully move forward now." "And where do you want to move forward to?" "Everywhere." "Nowhere." "Anywhere with you." She smiled. "I want to expand my business. Maybe open a Seoul office for my consulting firm instead of working from home. I want to improve my Korean. I want to travel more. I want to..." She hesitated. "Say it." "I want to think about having a family. Maybe adoption. Maybe surrogacy. I don't know yet. But I want to talk about it seriously." Minute J reached across the table, taking her hand. "I want that too. All of it. The business expansion, the travel, the family. Whatever you want, we'll build it together." "You sure? About children?" "I know your lifestyle is dangerous. My lifestyle is exactly why I want children." He squeezed her hand. "I spent years building an empire through violence and control. Now I want to build something through love. A family. A legacy that's more than money and power. It won't be easy. With your work, with the dangers. Nothing worth having is easy." Minute J stood, pulling her to her feet. "You weren't easy. You were terrified, traumatized, and completely resistant to trusting anyone. But I pursued you anyway. Because you were worth the effort." He wrapped his arms around her waist. "Children will be the same. Difficult, scary, and completely worth it. We'll hire security. We'll be careful. We'll give them the safest, most loved childhood possible. And if something goes wrong? If my past trauma affects my ability to carry a pregnancy, then we adopt. Or we use a surrogate. Or we become the cool aunt and uncle to our friends' children. There are 1,000 ways to build a family, Jagaya. We'll find the one that works for us." Naomi kissed him, grateful and overwhelmed and so deeply in love. "How did I get so lucky?" "You didn't get lucky. You survived. You fought. You refused to let your past define your future. That's not luck, Jagaya. That's strength." Later that night, lying in bed with Seoul's lights glittering below, Naomi thought about the woman she'd been 3 years ago. Broken, homeless, grieving. That woman would never have believed this life was possible. But here she was. Mrs. Park Naomi. Wife to Seoul's most dangerous and devoted man. Business owner. Survivor. Someone who'd taken ashes and built a phoenix. "Minute J," she whispered in the darkness. Thank you for finding me. For seeing me. For loving me." He pulled her closer, his arms tight and protective around her. "Thank you for letting me. For trusting me with your broken pieces. For giving me the privilege of helping you put them back together. We put each other back together." "Yes," he agreed. "We did." And in that moment, in their penthouse high above Seoul, Naomi finally let go of the last pieces of pain she'd been carrying. Derek Stone was in prison. Charlotte Rose was honored and remembered. And Naomi herself was loved, protected, and whole. The past didn't disappear. It never would. But it no longer controlled her. It was just a story. A chapter that had ended. And the new chapter, the one she was writing with Minute J, was just beginning. Full of possibility. Full of hope. Full of love that had been worth every painful step it took to find. And that's the story of how Naomi Brooks went from broken and abandoned to beloved and protected. How she met her match in Park Minute J, a man powerful enough to destroy her enemies and gentle enough to heal her wounds. How she transformed pain into power, ashes into empire, and tragedy into triumph. Derek Stone learned the hard way that some women don't stay down when you knock them over. Some women rise stronger, build bigger, and marry men who will absolutely destroy you for touching what's theirs. He wanted Naomi to stay small, stay broken, stay in the space he'd assigned her. Instead, she became a queen in a city he couldn't navigate. Protected by a king he couldn't touch. Living a life he couldn't imagine. That's not revenge. That's justice. That's growth. That's what happens when you underestimate a woman who's already survived her worst nightmare. Before you go, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop a comment telling me what you thought of this story. Should Minute J have been harsher? Was the punishment enough? What would you do in Naomi's position? And remember, your past doesn't define your future. Your pain doesn't determine your worth. And the person who broke you doesn't get to decide if you can be whole again. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next story. Until then, keep rising. Keep fighting. Keep proving wrong everyone who ever counted you out, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.